Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's the No Name Cinema Society. We're back with our classic movie discussion. It's part 3 of our evening-long discussion of all things film, lots of things going on. We just talked about Criminals, start out our evening. Now Dangerous Method was our indie, and this is our classic discussion of the night. And we're going to talk about the movie that's behind me. You can see it's Goodfellas. And as I discussed on our 1990 review show, at the time I was speaking in future tense that I was going to screen this film as part of our Oscar movie marathon. It was 25 years old at the time. And so, but we did discuss this movie in detail on our 1990 show. So I wasn't sure if it was to have it standalone show, but the fans have spoken. They wanted to hear more about it, and both of my co-hosts here felt like we could unpack it even a little more. And it was appropriate. Usually, like we talk about classics that I've screened 6 months ago, but in this case it was only 6 weeks because we wanted to put a bow on 1990 and sort of move on. So it's gonna be 1990 pretty much from here throughout the end of the evening. Even the sound off is a very 1990-y bent. So those guys that I talked about are my co-hosts here. Let's start with introducing Jay Money. How you doing, sir?
Good. I'll never leave the 90s. Well, 1990s.
Well, I mean, hey, it was a good decade for all of us. And Dave Joseph, how are you, sir?
Awesome.
You are awesome. I am glad to hear it. So the trivia was, both here on Facebook was what was the film that we all named as the best film of 1990 in our 1990 review show. And of course, it's Goodfellas. So, spoiler alert, we're going to say a lot of good things. Here's the summary. So Goodfellas chronicles the adventures of Henry Hill, as played by Ray Liotta there, who gets involved with the mob at a young age and then ascends up in ranks at a time when organized crime syndicates ruled the outer boroughs of New York. So, like I said, we had the screening, February 27th, I think it was, and because we were screening 5 films that whole day, the actual discussion wasn't as in-depth as it usually is, but, I mean, there was no disagreement. Like, everybody sort of felt like it was a near-perfect film. One person, like I had said, it's my 13th favorite film of all time. I've said that several times. I think someone else in the group said that it was in their 30s, like 31 or something, somewhere around those lines. This past screening, I actually cried during the movie because of how artful. I can see Jay Money laughing at me, but yeah. I mean, I'm dead serious here. How artful it was. Like, I wept realizing that I was experiencing art, real. The medium that I've chosen to devote my life to. I was realizing perfection, or the medium utilized to its utmost potential. So. That's that. I didn't even write down here that we should have opening thoughts because, I think, your graphic said it earlier. I don't even see a point because we all like the film. We've already all named it the best film of 1990, so we can just move right on to the discussion, don't you guys think?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Agreement once again. Okay. Anyway, so the first thing I wanted to talk about with you guys was, something that I bring up a lot. And it came up a little bit in Dangerous Method discussion. But when I'm criticizing films, I'll bring this up a lot, and that is when I feel like stylistic elements are informing choices over substance, style over substance. That will all be a constant complaint of mine, and I think I frequently can point to Goodfellas as a point when style is serving substance, almost to perfection, where the choices that Scorsese is making as a director, whether they're flashy or not, are motivated thoroughly by something in the script. I've got several examples here, but before I get to it, do you guys have some examples you want to throw out, Davey?
I think that the thing that sticks out in my mind obviously is the long shot going into the club. Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible, and it's it's something that it's great that we talk about this right now, because the last in the indie discussion, you were talking about how the camera work there kind of took you out of it, and this I remember just being taken with this the first time I saw it. But you're right, it just kind of blends right in. You could be so taken with the story and taken with what's going on that you didn't even realize it was one shot. And I think that speaks to exactly what you're saying.
And that's also true of the movie you named as your best of 2015. We talked about a very specific shot that was the best shot of 2015. I said in Creed, where it wasn't until halfway through the shot that I realized I hadn't cut yet, and that's how fluid it was.
Yeah.
All right, so that was actually my first example. J Money, do you have an example of style?
I just would echo your sentiments about that shot. That shot's pretty infamous. I'm trying to think of any
famous.
What's that?
I mean famous.
It's just famous.
Yeah,
no
famous.
end.
Infamous has a negative connotation.
No, not necessarily.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it does.
Not flat out.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
All right, viewers, English majors out there, I'm pretty confident on this one.
It's well known for some bad quality or deed.
Are you looking it up? Is that literally what it says?
Yes.
You just got schooled on live internet.
That's interesting. I've been using it wrong for years then.
That's cool.
I mean, I honestly feel like it's not the first time it's come up on this show.
Possibly.
I've rewatched some shows, and Dave corrected you on that same thing previously.
I'm going to keep using it my way. I'm going to try
that's cool. I like it. I like that.
You are that kind of a rebel, yeah. Anyway, go ahead, J Money.
No, fuck you guys. Fuck both of you.
A stylistic thing that was motivated, that worked, like.
Oh my God.
That was appropriately. A stylistic choice that was motivated within the script. By the script or by the
way that everything kind of falls apart at the end. I love the frenetic pace that picks up by the end of the movie as this.
That was my second. I mean, that was my second thing. I wrote the helicopter chase.
The helicopter chase is fantastic. Yeah.
Complete with titles that show you the time of passing and things like that. So I wrote that down as well.
Yeah, the intensity of the anxiety you feel for these characters it's visceral, which I love. I love that whole sequence. So
Yeah, but it's also, and in spite of all that style, it's also character driven, which we'll get to in a second. The other one that I wanted to talk about was, based on a film that we've talked about before, the Vertigo shot in the diner, and it's very subtle actually. I don't know if you guys remember. I mean, I don't. Davey Joe, J Money did not rewatch this for tonight because he felt confident about it. Did you rewatch this for tonight or?
No, I didn't. You know what I did? I watched the other one because I had skipped that on you. I've seen this movie.
So did J Money. Oh, the discussion, man. We should have done that movie again. So anyway, the Vertigo shot in the diner. It just like in Vertigo, and we talked about that when we discussed Vertigo in episode 14.3. That they're dialing in while zooming out, or vice versa. So that's happening in this diner in a very slow way, slower than Vertigo or Jaws does it. So here, I mean, that's very motivated by the tension that's going on in the scene. And it's crazy to watch because the background's changing behind them, and they're not really moving. It's fascinating shot. Cinematographer was Michael Ballhaus. Some of the other things that I wanted to talk about in terms of some stylistic things, the choice to have multiple perspectives. In the film, because at one point it shifts from Henry Hill to Karen Hill, in terms of the point of view of the film, and that is a really interesting and for the time I think original type of choice. And the other one that stands out to me is the Layla montage, with this sort of beautiful, not beautiful, but light music going up against all this death. Quite frankly. Do you guys want to unpack any of those stylistic things now that I've brought them up? Anything further you want to say about those?
Well, I think
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, man. That's fine. Oh, you.
No, David, you go first. He always goes first.
All right. So the Layla scene. I think that's kind of the only thing that kind of comes close to me is the Good Morning Vietnam scene with the
Ride of the
Louis.
Valkyries.
Yeah. Well,
no, I'm sorry. You said Good Morning Vietnam, and I thought Apocalypse Now. But go ahead.
Yeah. It's the with the What a Beautiful World, the Louis Anderson song. Because
What a Wonderful World.
Yes, in with the horrible things going on, the Layla music is just this kind of it's kind of pretty music, and it's just all these people that you know, these guys that are kind of like your crew, like you have bonded with them, and it's kind of just showing you that this horrible fate of theirs, and it's moving. I mean, I think just to kind of to your point about being moved to emotion. I mean, it's powerful, and you're right to bring that up. That is a great scene.
J Money.
You know, it's funny because I didn't really ever pay attention to that song before I watched this movie, and I watched this movie probably 20 years ago for the first time, and I'd heard Layla before that because I grew up in you know, sort of like classic rock country up in the Northern Kingdom of New England. But I didn't really ever pay attention to it before this movie, and now whenever I hear it now, what I think of is that sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a good segue. I was you finished just as I was about to take a sip of beer, so I'm going to defiantly do it anyway.
That's an infamous quality of yours.
So it's a good segue into overall usage of music. I wanted to open up that can of worms a little bit. What are some? So if I bring up use of music in Goodfellas, what does that make you think about? We already talked about Layla, but what else? So you guys haven't seen recently, I guess. So.
Yeah, this would be a harder one for me to answer, but it was all period, wasn't it?
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, it was all period, but also frequently counterpoint to what was going on. And you know, like, and one of the themes that I was going to talk about it later too is the character's blasé attitude towards violence. And I mean, I think the music sort of underscores that as well. Like, you know, "Rags to Riches" is a song that comes to mind offhand. I mean, like, and there's wall-to-wall period music. There's tons of it in the film, and it's mostly like lighthearted in nature, lighthearted, happy, you know, type music. Which, and although there is sort of like a comic sensibility in the underbelly of the film, I mean, there's also a lot of darkness, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a lot of dark humor, especially.
Yeah, David, Joe, do you have anything on the music? I guess you guys weren't prepared for that. I'm trying to unpack this movie a little more because obviously we talked about it a lot.
The music during the helicopter scene, I used to know.
It's period like 80s like rock.
Yeah, and I know that the guy who did that song, I think, never toured. I think that was a one-hit thing that he did. I mean, Scorsese really found stuff. I mean, he really, this is brilliantly done.
Well, I mean, I mean, like, every detail in this movie is serving, you know, this greater goal. I mean, like, and, you know, you made fun of me for weeping a little bit during these moments, but I mean, like, you know, like, this is what it's about. Like, all these choices, you know, to tell your story.
That was Jay Money.
Yeah.
Not me.
You're acknowledging the making fun of me?
Yeah, you left.
All right, let's try something that may be a little easier for you guys. Let's talk about, you know, because, you know, you brought it up during Criminal, and I always complain about usage of voiceover in films, and this has always been my the example, the exception that proves the rule type thing, because it is an exception in the sense that the voiceover is handled beautifully. I think the multiple perspectives helps with that, but it's not telling you what's going on. It's not telling you what's inside their head. It's not telling you what you're already seeing. Let's put it that way. It's actual additional information to what you're seeing, and not in a didactic way. So is that something you guys feel comfortable discussing?
Yeah, you know, it is. I think it's also that it's just really well written, and I think that it's good prose. I mean, I think Apocalypse Now is the other movie that kind of pops in my head for where it's done very well.
Well, to me, like the Apocalypse Now, it gets almost, that is unlike Dangerous Method. Apocalypse Now, a film that we've talked about obviously a lot in episode 18.3, but in that particular case, it gets a little erudite for my taste. It gets a little sort of, I mean, melodramatic or heady. It's not as enjoyable to listen to, let's put it that way, as Goodfellas is.
Sure.
Money, what do you got on the voiceover?
I don't have a strong opinion about voiceovers in general like you do. I agree that oftentimes they're used to the detriment of the film, and that they're getting in the way. They're annoying. In terms of this movie, it certainly never bothered me, and I think one of the reasons is because of something else you brought up earlier, which is the way that it sort of shifts characters and focus. I mean, if it was just one voiceover throughout the entire time, maybe that would have been a little annoying, but the fact is that they're pulling in all these other characters and you're hearing their inner thoughts as well. That actually kind of keeps it fresh and interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, like the multiple characters, and they do that. He repeats that same concept in Casino as well, having multiple characters doing voiceovers.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's something I think that we saw in another movie that we watched this past year, which was certainly cribbing a lot from this movie, Black Mass.
Was there multiple voiceovers in that?
I thought so. Because I thought that throughout the Black Mass they were interviewing different people, like they were kind of doing in this one.
Oh, but that wasn't okay. Yeah, but that's like more. That's closer to like Citizen Kane, where it's like the storyteller. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, but that was
cartoon.
But wasn't it in Black Mass? Wasn't there multiple voiceovers in just in general?
I mean, but I mean, like they were still diegetic in theory because they were telling the story to the interviewer, just like they do in Citizen Kane. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Sure. Davy Joe, you know what I'm saying, don't you?
Yeah, no, I do know what you're saying. I don't remember if they actually do voiceover away from the actual interview or not. I haven't seen it since we talked about it.
I don't think any of us really like that movie that much, so
I like it more than the two of you, I think. But
is that well, we'll find out in the next sound off.
Well, what I was trying to say was that obviously it was a technique that was picked up and I think recognized from a lot of people, and certainly there's a lot of people that find voiceover very divisive. I mean, JB is not alone in this. I know plenty of other people that also feel the same way. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it's terrible. And this movie just works, and it works really well.
Okay, so I didn't, my next thing was going to talk about performances, but I wanted to move things along. So, and I'd rather spend more time on themes. What would you guys say are some of my computer's being very slow at the moment. Are some of the themes of the film? J Money, why don't you go first?
It's about fellas being good, I think. That was kind of what they tried to sum up in the title, which is funny because they're actually not good. So, it's about opposites.
All right, David Joe, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I think it's a film about managing friendships and how things
managing friendships.
Yeah, I think you've got these guys that are friends, but they're also involved in some
are they
serious.
Are they good friends?
Some serious.
Is this leading to another Goodfellas joke?
No, they're involved in serious business. And
if this movie for you is like indicative of how you manage friendships, it's good. We're all in different states. I feel much better.
I'm going with this.
Yeah, I mean, J Money, do you have a shovel you could give him?
I started the hole. Now he's got.
You certainly did.
I mean, you guys are.
All right, David Joe, keep going.
So what's his name? Who's I'm blanking on De Niro's name.
Jimmy Conway.
Jimmy, right? All right. So like, I'm not gonna say which one's which, but I feel like sometimes I am Ray Liotta and you guys are Jimmy and Morty, and I'm trying to keep one of you from killing the other one, and managing friendships.
All right, I see it. Now that you've pointed it out that way, yeah.
Well, now that he used us as an example, that's what this movie means to him. All right, I'll help you guys out. This is what I came up with, and the biggest thing to me is violence, the nature of violence. And I mean, like, I think it's really interesting. Like I said before, the blasé attitude that they have towards the violence.
Yeah.
And if anything, it's a mild inconvenience to them. But and I think that leads to another theme, which I think is the influence of environment. Back to this nature versus nurture, heredity versus environment discussion. I mean, like, imagine if Henry Hill had grown up 2 blocks east of where he did, or something like that. I mean, there is, the way he grew up leads to this sort of, attitude about life and death that is unlike what we're used to. I mean, like, there's a certain lack of fear there, but also a certain lack of empathy for their victims. And also the other one that I thought about is the nature of heroes and heroism, because the way he grew up idolizing these people and then coming to get involved with them, I think it's kind of powerful in the sense of, like, be careful, like, I mean, first of all, there's this discussion about we need more heroes, but then at the same time, is anyone really a hero? You know what I mean? Like, because we're all complex people. We've all got flaws. I mean, like, I think there's a quote out there that says, nobody should have heroes, because if you get to know the man too much, it'll ruin your image of them. So anyway, those are the things that Goodfellas had me thinking about. How do you guys respond to those? Davey, I'll let you redeem yourself.
No, I made an excellent point before, but I will say that I like that, and the heroes aspect and the heroes worship. I think it's more of a family thing. Also, these guys, Henry kind of takes on these older guys as his family, as his father figure, because his own father. I mean, he says in the voiceover, the way he thought it, sometimes you got to take a beating, and that's because his dad was abusive toward him. And I think that he just kind of.
But I mean, like, also in fairness, at a time when hitting your kids in that way, like the abusive, like, there's abusive, and then there's, like, parents that hit their kids, which happened a lot in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Yeah, I don't know. Whipping him with a belt while the mother screams that was always pretty much frowned upon, I think. But I don't know. It was a good.
That's like my childhood, but okay.
Anyway.
He thinks I'm kidding. J Money, what do you got?
Do they? You're gonna have to clue me on this, because obviously I didn't do my homework enough. Do they actually talk about what neighborhood specifically they are from?
I'm pretty sure.
Even in the 6 weeks, yes, in the very beginning, I think they do.
I think was it not the Bronx?
Think about it, Bensonhurst. It was Brooklyn for sure.
Oh, Brooklyn. It was Brooklyn. Damn it, you're right.
But did they say where specifically in Brooklyn?
I think it was Bensonhurst, but I don't remember.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I think that a lot of mafia movies will talk about the nature of immigration ultimately, and how certain kind of neighborhoods within urban centers have grown this kind of socioeconomic class that aspires to be basically the gods of their area. I mean, I think that you're talking about nature versus nurture. That's obviously a big part of this, but the film starts there and sort of breaks away from that, because you're seeing Ray Liotta's character become more human, almost, in a way. You're seeing him become aware of what's been happening with his life for the last 20 years, and I think that's interesting. I think that's the fact that this movie takes place. I think
it's also interesting that he doesn't seem to have any regrets.
No, at the end he certainly doesn't. Right? It seems like he's like, "Ha, I got away with it," which is kind of depressing and funny at the same time.
But I mean, that's a big part of Scorsese's oeuvre. I mean, like, think about The King of Comedy and the way that ended.
Yeah, there's a whole. I mean, I think that Scorsese likes to explore the idea of, like, might is right. Doesn't necessarily make an ethical judgment about that. He's fascinated by characters that feel like they have the right of way. They feel like they are taking advantage of the situation, and that is their code to take advantage of the situation. And that's what people have to do.
It's funny because when the movie first came out, there was a large cry from the Italian American community, like, that wanted to, like,
sure.
They were really upset with Scorsese, but
they were still
he was like,
pissed about
I grew up with these
hearings in the 50s, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you can't like erase history. That's like not Nazis. You know, that's like Germans getting mad that about the Nazis in Indiana Jones.
Right, you heard it here first, everybody. JB hates Italians. Italian Americans. I'm sorry.
I don't. Is that exactly what I said? Interesting. Davy Joe.
What am I talking about? Italians?
And he's awake again, everybody. So, so that was the buzzer. So I want to make two quick claims that I've made in the past that I want to get your opinion on for the sake of this show. You might have opined on it in previous shows, but this is a standalone video. So in episode 17.4, the day that we did Black Mass, I did my top 5 gangster movies of all time, and I named Goodfellas number 1 over Godfather Part 2. Do you guys agree with that claim?
Yeah, I'll go with that. I'll still go with that. I'm sure I agree with it then. I'll still agree with it now.
Davy Joe's thinking.
It's tight. It's tight, man. Geez, you're asking me to choose between my kids right now. I don't know, man. It's hard. It's hard. I don't have a. I don't. It's. Yeah. Probably. I'll tell you what. I've seen Goodfellas more times, so I guess I like it more. I don't know if it's better. I'll put it that way.
I think it's more. I don't want to say fun, but I just feel like it's a more fluid movie for me personally.
It's. I don't want to say it's lighter, but it's an easier watch.
Yeah, in some ways, right?
It works on a number of different levels, whereas Godfather Part 2 you got to strap in and kind of pay attention.
I personally love it when Davey straps in.
No. Infamous.
Wow.
That is.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, so what's next?
Yeah. Part 3. The next claim is I claimed, and I'm not even sure, at one point I claimed this was the second best film of the 1990s overall, and I even, like in re-looking at that list, and I don't want to give you my list right now, I'm even thinking if I want to put it back to number 1 now that I've rewatched it. I've got to rewatch what I had at number 1 before, but I'm even thinking about putting it 1. I don't know if you guys feel prepared. Is Goodfellas the best or second best film of the 1990s?
Oof. What year was Encino Man?
Don't encourage him by laughing.
What about Biodome? If you can't give me Encino Man.
All right, Davy Joe, can you please take this seriously?
I want to.
You have to give us a rundown of every movie in the 1990s for us.
Yeah.
I mean.
Okay. Look, I understand not everybody makes lists that I do. Tell you what. I'll let you guys think about it, and in a future sound off, you can let me know.
All right.
Okay.
Also, eventually, we're getting so much feedback on these 1990s. Somebody's probably going to want to make me do a top 5 on the 1990s overall. So the other thing is, I called it my 13th favorite film of all time. Another person called it the 31st favorite film of all time at the screening. Do you think this would make your top 100?
Yes.
Oh, no question. No question.
Would it make your top 20? Yes.
Ugh. I don't know. It would make my top 50. How about that?
Cool. So we clearly love this film, but let's see if other people do too, because it's time for the classic movie showdown. How do you like that segue, guys?
Nice segue. Nice.
Smooth.
All right, and one of people's favorite parts about the classic movie showdown is the part where Davy Joe reads the rules. And Davy Joe, we got a curveball for you this time. Davy Joe. Oh, you got your glasses on? I cut to you, so whoops, people see your glasses on. Davy Joe, we got new rules.
Okay.
Sort of. Updated rules.
Oh, we changed the year?
Take it away.
All right.
We changed the year, yeah.
The seating criteria varies from bracket to bracket. The films are at JB hosted screenings, and they're shown at JB hosted screenings. Blah blah. They need to be 15 years or older, and that brings us back to 2001. Voters are eligible if they see both films within a 12-month period. Voters must see both films in JB's presence. JB is ineligible to vote unless the vote counts. He can break ties.
So that was not your best work. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, like I feel like that's been done a little better.
You want me to do it again? Do another cut?
What's that?
You want to do another cut?
Yeah, do it again, would you?
I would love to if this wasn't live. And if it wasn't live, you know that I would. All right, so it's bracket time, everybody. And again, we're still sort of in that March Madness hangover that people still are understanding these brackets. And what's fun about tonight is we're getting 2 rounds tonight. So Goodfellas went up against a couple different things. So here you can see a full, and it's the best supporting actor. No, that's not right. It's supposed to be. Sorry, Jim, I did not catch this earlier. People ignore that.
No, I missed that too. Yeah.
It is the slide is supposed to be best picture losers bracket.
Right.
So these are films that all were nominated for Best Picture but lost. And the one below is Jaws versus Last Picture Show. Last Picture Show was our, I think we discussed it in episode 7 of last year. So that was our classic movie from episode 7. And obviously Goodfellas we're doing now. So, we won't go through all these. I'll just give you the update. And The Quiet Man, incidentally, was a film that we talked about in episode episode 4 or 4, I think it was. It was a couple of those were classic movies previously. So you can, if you want to hear us talk about them in more detail, you can look those up. So let me go tell you, Goodfellas. First of all, Goodfellas versus Quiet Man. Since Goodfellas is our thing for the night. Do you guys have opinions on that one?
Oh, Goodfellas.
Oh, you haven't seen Quiet Man yet, have you, David J. Money?
No, but I'm gonna go Goodfellas. Davy Joe, and as you remember, I think Quiet Man was my number 98 favorite film of all time. But you liked Quiet Man.
No, I do, and it's hard to just discount a movie by John Ford, but this is Goodfellas, so it's hard to beat.
Right, it's hard to beat here, as you can see. It does beat Quiet Man, and moving on to the second round, and Last Picture Show beat Jaws way back when, and that moves on to round 2. And again, this is not the Best Supporting Actor bracket; it's Best Picture Losers. We had a graphical error there, and I didn't catch it in time, and my apologies. And J Money's apologies as well.
Yeah, this is all me.
So anyway, that sets up this matchup for right now. And this had a longer discussion. And in all fairness, well, maybe I won't reveal that just yet. But so the winner of this goes to the Sweet 16. And what's interesting to me here, we don't have a lot of time left, and I didn't anticipate this. When we talked about Last Picture Show last time in episode 7, neither of these guys actually sat down to watch it. I talked about Last Picture Show in episode 7, and it's in my top 10 all time. So it's a tough call for me. Obviously, it's pre-ranked. But I have a feeling I know where Davy Joe's going to go. But before we do that, Davy Joe, can you tell me your impression of Last Picture Show?
Last Picture Show was a fantastic film. I loved it, and I thought Ben Johnson, his performance was the best that I had ever seen him, and I definitely thought that the Academy Award, that made a lot of sense. And I also think that it to me, I don't know if other people have said this, but to me it just sort of seems like it was really ahead of its time, and it kind of paved the way for the kind of the 80s teen movies that were really popular. I'm thinking like Breakfast Club, that kind of thing.
Breakfast Club, which was our classic movie in episode 1.
Yeah. So I want to say some really nice things about this movie because I'm about to tell you how much better Goodfellas is than it. But this is a great movie, and I liked it a lot, and Goodfellas is better. So Goodfellas gets the nod.
I would make the argument that they are both perfect movies. Like again, They were talking about a film that's number 9 on my top 10, top list of all time, and number 13. That's like a sheet of paper difference, in the grand scheme of things with all movies. So it's obviously very close. I think they're both like perfectly made. Every choice is amazing. In terms of that teen comparison, obviously, Last Picture Show has significantly more depth than any of those even scratch the surface of. Do you want to give me one reason why Goodfellas is better?
Yeah, I find the story way more compelling. I thought that I think Last Picture Show was perfectly done, and I think I could see how someone else could be more involved and find that more compelling. But at the end of the day, I kind of just was like, okay, these two people are gonna fall in love, and then these two people are gonna fall in love, and then these two people are gonna fall in love, and they're gonna sleep together, and then they're gonna sleep together, and yeah, all right. Again, it's in the execution. It's amazing, and the dialogue is incredible, and some of the shot selection in Last Picture Show is striking as well. So it kind of transcends something that to me isn't the best story. But anyway,
interesting. I had a question, but I lost it. And Jay Money. Oh, I remember what I was. David Joe, do you feel like you're glad that you finally watched it? Like it was something that caught you by surprise?
No, well, it didn't. I knew. I had a feeling I was going to love it. I knew that you had spoken highly of it, and also I listened to Peter Bogdanovich's podcast, his episode on WTF with Mark Maron, and it was just absolutely riveting. And I thought I would really, I knew I would like it. So.
Okay. Jay Money, was your first time as well, I believe.
Yeah, and I thought it was also a fantastic movie, revelatory in a lot of ways. I mean, especially in terms of the performances. I mean, there are all these people that are in this movie that I recognize from so many other different movies, but seeing them kind of at their genesis, seeing them sort of at this point where they break out was amazing and fascinating to watch. And then there were even some seasoned veterans in there that I was fascinated by. We talked about Ben Johnson; he did a fantastic job in that movie. Cloris Leachman also completely.
Yeah.
She also won the Academy Award.
I think that's great. I mean, honestly, before this, I thought of Cloris Leachman as this woman from the '80s. I never thought of her as like this amazing actress from this movie, and it completely changed the way that I think of her now, actually, in a lot of ways. So, but I mean, everybody involved in this movie seemed to be doing great things with it. I loved the way it looked. I loved the desolation of the environment that they chose. It was an actual ghost town that they shot in, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Great choice. I mean, there's so many great choices in terms of the visual representation there, in terms of how they brought together the scenes. I mean, the way that they let the characters fill the screen. There were so many things about the movie that I really loved. And I think that I'm with you in saying, like, it's a hard decision. It's a paper-thin, difference to me between these two movies for me. So it's, I'll be interested to see where everybody goes with it in this vote.
Yeah, and I pre-ranked the film, so I'm obviously I would choose Last Picture Show if I had a vote. But where do you land on it?
Oof. I think I would go with Goodfellas still.
Okay. Do you give one reason why?
Honestly, it might come down to kind of what Davey Joe said. Maybe I find Goodfellas just a little bit more compelling. Honestly, this is sacrilegious. I could have seen Last Picture Show edited a little bit tighter. Yeah. Because especially
That's an opinion. I mean, I love the slow burn. If it's done well. Like I love that.
It's just that by the end of it, I think I felt like, I really see where this is going, and there was a point where I'm like, maybe this could have been trimmed a little bit, whatever. It's hard to say that that's a criticism. I mean, I would never suggest that they did anything wrong with this movie. It's just that if I'm gonna try to like think between the two movies, Goodfellas to me, just again a slightly more enjoyable ride, perhaps. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's
Yeah, I mean, like I think for me, Last Picture Show has been so much more influential on my work, like personally as an artist, the character-driven stuff. What's that?
And a lot of people. I mean, David Joe's talking about John Hughes. For me, it was like Richard Linklater. It feels like everything that I see of Linklater have done recently seems like it came from this to some degree.
Well, and Bogdanovich was heavily influenced by Ford.
Yeah, well, he did a whole movie about
Documentary on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he knew him personally, and lots of John Ford films now have Peter Bogdanovich commentaries.
Oh, that's right.
Like The Searchers, for example. So they both voted for Goodfellas. I don't get a vote, but their vote doesn't count because the people at the screening are the ones that voted, and they agree with these guys. Goodfellas moves on to the Sweet 16, and again, not the best. Even though Goodfellas did win in the Best Supporting Actor Oscar, that is not this bracket. That is a mistake. It is the Best Picture losers bracket, and it was not actually as close as it was here. The people that were voted did not, and when we had the screening for Last Picture Show last April, there were people that left saying that it was now in their top 5 all time. Like, there were people that were changed by it. And again, I think it was a film that they didn't expect to know or love, and that had something to do with it. Those people were not also at the Goodfellas screening. The people that were also at the Goodfellas screening were people that were not as moved or interested in Last Picture Show. They did feel like it was a little slow and dull, and so Goodfellas won out. And in many brackets, and we're going to see Goodfellas come up in future brackets, as the shows go along. It's going to be hard to beat. It's that kind of film. But I mean, like, this was a tough call either way, and I think that's, as we get further along in the brackets, that's what's fun about it, is like these really, like, eventually Goodfellas might have to go up against The Godfather in one of these brackets, Well,
and I do have one caveat to this whole bracket system that we're talking about right now. For me personally, Jaws would have beat them both.
Wow.
Interesting in that foursome. Let me pull that back up. So Jaws would be Last Picture Show, and then also beat Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, for me, I would have had Last Picture Show and Goodfellas go to the second round, and then I would have had Last Picture Show in the third round. Again, this is the Best Picture losers bracket. Neither. It's funny because both Last Picture Show and Goodfellas did win Best Supporting Actor Oscars, and both Quiet Man and Jaws were nominated in that category. So it's interesting.
Why don't we just pretend like we did this on purpose?
But anyway, but yeah. So, out of curiosity, would you guys, as much as you love Ben Johnson, would you, if it was the Best Supporting Actor matchup, would you have also voted for Joe Pesci over Ben Johnson?
Oh my God!
Ooh, I don't know.
Oh my God!
I love it when I stump him.
Yeah, that would have been. I don't know about that. I might go Ben Johnson on that one, actually.
Oh, you're killing me, man.
This makes me so happy.
I don't know. I don't know.
You're literally destroying Davy Joe's mind right now. You are so.
I love it. I love that.
I don't know. Pesci. I guess Pesci. But Jesus, man, that's hard. That's tough. That's tough.
It is hard, and that's what. This is when the brackets are getting good. I'll tell you, like, we talked a little bit off camera today. The 60s bracket, the first round of the 60s bracket is almost completely done. We've got 24 of the first 32 matchups all done. That's more than any other bracket. So there might be a focus in the next few months of trying to finish the 60s. But it's kind of exciting because the matchups are getting tougher as we go along. If this is just a second round, and imagine how tough it gets as we go along. So anyway, so that's what we're looking at there. So guys, anything you want to wrap up? Goodfellas, Last Picture Show, anything?
I'm good.
When's those two coming out?
It's funny that did I send? I think I posted on Facebook the roundtable they did on the Today Show.
Oh, I missed that. Then what was it?
It was for their 25-year anniversary. It was like it was right before the Oscars. So
I mean, throw Ray Liotta a bone. Give the guy something to do.
I think we're going to talk more about him as well in the next segment. which is our sound off, which is coming up now, and we're going to keep going with the 1990 theme because after our 1990 review show, which you should Google if you have not seen it, it's actually doing very well. It's very popular. We've got tons of questions that we're going to answer in the sound off, which is going to be almost exclusively focused on 1990. And also for the next classic, we're going to discuss one of the few films ever to be involved for a tie for the Academy Awards in an acting category. And that's going to be the next classic film discussion, which is going to be May 3rd, Tuesday, May 3rd, at 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific. I'll do math. 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific. On Tuesday, May 3rd, and other information trivia will be coming out on that on our Facebook page. If you're not on our Facebook page, you should like us on Facebook, and why don't you subscribe to us on YouTube while we're at it? I think that would make David Joe in particular pretty happy.
Yes, I've been meaning to try and make that same plea. So well done, thank you.
Yeah, we've been getting more and more subscribers as the weeks go along. I forgot to mention that to you. It has been increasing, but at a slow rate. So let's pump that up because we're fun. At least I'm fun. Anyway, coming up the sound off, Davey's Diatribe. We have Twitter questions related to 1990 show, and I'm going to do the top 5 films from 1990. My top 5 films from 1990. You already know number 1, but I'll count down the others. All right, that's it for this good discussion of Goodfellas. More 1990 coming up in about 8 to 9 minutes. We'll see you guys shortly. No Name Society, Cinema Society continues.